So we move on to item 11, which is the Chisholm Trail.
Thank you.
Some more to carry on.
More percentages, I'm afraid. But the scheme, you're all very familiar with it, has undergone consultation during the same period, during the autumn of 2015. No real surprises in the results that we received on that. In particular, we've got up to 86% in favour of the scheme, which is clearly those are high numbers. But we consider the way that this has been put out there, the way that we engage with those users and those that we potentially think will benefit from this. This is seen as a very positive scheme indeed. So, it's one that we're keen now to get on with. There was good support as well for the entire route, and even to the point of undertaking some street lighting in some sections along the route, particularly where we think that we could provide that within the scope of the scheme without intruding too much on the environmental impact that that may cause. The most important additional features were tree planting, cycle parking, habitat creation, and opening the area a bit more to leisure activities. So there was some fairly good constructive feedback that we had on that. In parallel with the consultation, we are still engaging with landowners. It's still a big issue for us to get this scheme through. We've got some ongoing groups working now and teams actively liaising with that. I had a meeting myself with Network Rail, regional director level, to sort of talk through the scheme. And as far as they're concerned, there's no showstoppers on this one in terms of Network Rail, which I think is really positive.
Their response on the timing of their response?
Well, that's a different issue. But, certainly, let's take one step at a time. And I mean, to get the fact that they don't strongly oppose it gives us a very, very good position to be in. And so what we're doing now is developing packages, and one of the recommendations here is that we now need to go for planning to get some approval on some of the aspects of the scheme. And if you look at page 72, Plan 1, you can see there how it's been divided into parts. If you look at the dotted line, we're proposing a 3.5 metre path there. There are some issues still in that area around flood risk and heritage issues, so hence the narrower the path the better. We still retain this sort of the width that we can segregate, provide some safe means of access down there for pedestrians and cyclists. So that goes well. The southern section, more through the sort of urban landscape, the proposal there is for it to be 5 metres wide. Here we'll be introducing and considering the introduction of street lighting. So that's the proposal for the application. And the section north of Coleman's Lane, much of this, as you know, lies in the environmental flood zones, as I mentioned. So wide footpaths are problematic there, and I think, honestly, we're wise to consider that. We are taking advanced measures as well because of the work we're doing with the Energy past, present and future, working very closely with them on the local chapel and how we can mitigate some of the impact there, particularly with the subway. And we've done some advanced work on engineering aspects to see just how feasible it is to get that through. So really we're just sort of consulting, looking at options so that we can get to a position where when we've got approval of the planning application, the scheme is almost ready to go, which I think is where the board would like to be. Going back again to financial monitoring, forecasting, we want to be ahead of ourselves on this one with the already delivered. So I think all in all, it's been a very positive experience for those involved, and pleased to do those recommendations today.
Thank you, Mr. Walmsley. Your recommendations from the court?
Yes, indeed I do, Chair. Both the questions we had and the Assembly were both very positive about this. It was an interesting conversation that developed as a result of our question of Rob King's contribution. He's running a local logistics business by bicycle across the city, spoke very persuasively about something which I think we've all taken on board for the project to get this far and progressive as we have. I think it was something that the Assembly particularly wanted to put a marker down and say, can we make sure that we develop the means of measuring shift when this scheme comes alive, which means doing things before as well as after, because it is quite a seminal concept that we're using here rather than just a little bit of a scheme. And there is the potential for us to learn a lot about economic impact, I think, because we haven't done many schemes like this. I'm not sure many schemes are done like this on a national basis, and I think given the original discussion we had about our programme and the role of cycle schemes in it, it would be really useful to learn something about economic impact from it, which could strengthen future such evaluation of other schemes.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I certainly support that. I mean, when you do an assessment, you don't know which way it's going to go, but I think it's worth doing. My two questions would be, firstly, following up the cycling campaign, Mr. Walton, about some of the junctions on the route. And the other question is just getting some kind of feel for it going forward. Is this, how will the work that it will develop into be parcelled? I'm just unclear that this is going to be one scheme all done at one go. And I appreciate it's at early stages, but what is the pattern of the expected pattern of delivery?
Thank you, Joe. Yes, that's a good point, of course. The idea is that we progress this scheme in the lowest form shape we can, and that will mean advanced works in some areas. I think the best thing I can do for you is to put together a more detailed programme next time and bring this before you, so you can see the sequence of works that we propose. I think we're in a better position to do that. In terms of junctions, most of this route is off-road, and where it isn't, we've managed to build a subway, and where we haven't built a subway, we've done so. There is some configuration around some crossing points along the route, which will need to be looked at, and we need to find a detail of it. I think also when we come forward with the cross-city cycling proposals, which is, if you can remember when we spoke before, this is our spine route through the city, cross-city cycling strategic, so to read into this, then we will have issues about junctions, and I think we'll deal with those as we bring those forward, taking on board what's been said today, and the considerations that we can come up with there. But there's certainly some good advances, and what I've seen so far in the team's work is there are some quite innovative ideas coming out of that, which I think are quite useful, and the board would appreciate some of that.
Okay. Councillor Burkett.
I think that schedule would be very useful. Will that be for June, that kindly?
We'll due back in June, but I can certainly bring an update on the programme for you.
Okay. I appreciate all the work that's been put into this. We wouldn't want it to be held up wholly by some of the dialogue we never wrote, so I think if there's a way to bring forward a large element of it, then we would do that. We've got 4 recommendations. We've also, again, just recording the number of consultation responses, 1,457 responses. It's not just a small number of people that want to see this bill. So, 4 recommendations in front of